Fans of classic cars like Hansgünter Hauck don't let a little cold weather bother them. They drive with the top down, even in winter. His Karmann Ghia might look like a classic, but don't be fooled, it was made in 2012. But for most people, it might as well be the real deal, a German classic from 1955. Hauck managed to recreate the legendary car with a painstaking eye for detail.
It's a real classic. They only had what was necessary. Not like today with all the gimmicks and extras. This is pure driving pleasure. Having a Karmann Ghia with VW Beetle technology really makes you feel like you've gone back in time.
Und das ist noch richtig die alte Zeit, in die man sich zurückversetzt fühlt.
Back in the 1950s, the Karmann Ghia helped give Germans a taste of la dolce vita. It became a bestseller, selling around 30,000 times every year until 1970.
It stood for youth and a good time. It was a real sports car.
The chassis, the design. People said it was almost erotic. It's an erotic car.
This was the sports car of the time, the real highlight from VW.
Marketed as both a convertible and a coupe, the two-seater was dubbed the Housewives Porsche or the Secretary's Ferrari. It featured a VW Beetle chassis and a body by Italian designers Ghia. It was enough to convince Hansgünter Hauck to pick up his spanner and wrench.
Also eine Fälschung ist es wohl in keinem Falle.
It's not a fake. It would have been a fake if we had claimed it was an original. But we're not doing that.
Es ist ein Nachbau.
It's a recreation, but it's as close to the original as possible.
Wie möglich am Original geblieben.
Hauck collects old VW Beetles from all over Europe. He uses them as the basis for his recreations.
Das Ziel ist und soll sein,
The goal is and should be to breathe life back into this beautiful car and to preserve it rust-free for posterity.
Und das rostfrei.
That's why Hauck recreates the body out of fiberglass. It took him months to get the molds right down to the last millimeter. He pours the fiberglass resin into the molds. The finished body is then connected to the chassis with a steel frame. Just like the classic Beetle, the 50-horsepower motor is in the trunk. From the chassis to the interior, Hauck pores over every car for 8 weeks.
Ja, jedes Fahrzeug, das bei uns rausgeht.
We put our heart and soul into every car that rolls out the doors. Each of them is our baby. You get to watch it being built from the ground up. It becomes a completely new car, and a great one at that.
Es wird ein komplett neues Auto gebaut. Und dann noch so ein wunderschönes dazu.
If you want to drive a piece of the past, it will cost you around 30,000 euros. But that's still around 10,000 less than an original in good condition. And you'd have to be an expert to tell them apart.
At first glance, I'd say it's real.
The seats aren't original. The shape's right, but I'd say that they'd been restored, and restored incorrectly at that.
I drove one of these, but it didn't have leather seats. They were cloth, I think. I'd love to get back in one. I'd look good in it, wouldn't I?
Thanks to modern materials and new technology, Hansgünter Hauck's Karmann Ghias are more practical than the real deal. That means you can drive it to work every day and at the same time take a trip back in time.